Hi there, Traveling Troy here. Welcome to my first cooking video. If you don't already know, you're currently inside my van with me. It's a self-built camper van, and I'm currently near Quartzsite, Arizona, and I've been camping in the same spot for coming close to about 14 days. I'm about to roll out of here in the next day or two. Okay, well, let me show you my equipment that I use here. I've got a gas one stovetop burner. And I just use the 1 pound tanks. You could get an attachment and connect it to a bigger, like a 20 gallon or 20 pound propane tank, but I just use the 1 pound bottles. I have storage for 3 of them down below, and then I usually keep about 4 more up front. So this is probably what I want to show you the most. I'm going to be cooking today's meal in this pressure cooker. It is a Hawkins Pressure Cooker, and it's a 2-liter. It's got this nice rim around here, so when you're cooking things it doesn't splatter up very easily because it'll usually hit the wall before it comes out. So this is the main pot, and it comes with 4 pieces. So this is the lid, the Hawkins lid, and then there is a washer on here. That's part number 3. And then the 4th part is this little like pressure weight that sits on top of here. Snaps on there, and when it starts cooking, the pressure starts bouncing out around, and it'll shoot out some steam once it gets up to pressure. This is a Hawkins pressure cooker. It came with this little instruction manual, and it comes with 150 international recipes. And today's meal is going to be a beef, potato, and carrot stew. And I kind of use one in here called brown stew to kind of go by. I don't use their instructions completely, but as far as times, on cooking times and things, that's what I use to go by. And then kind of threw my own stuff in. And as far as prep work, this is the cutting board I use inside my van, and just a standard, like a Walmart knife that I use to cut stuff up. So let's get going here with my first cooking video. Okay, well, now I got my cutting board out, and we're going to cut a couple onions up and a few other items. Okay, like I said, I kind of just used a recipe out of the recipe book, and I've kind of made some changes here. So let's get started with the way I'm doing things. I'm just putting a little bit of olive oil down in my pot first. And not a whole lot, just a little bit down in there. I'm going to get the fire going here. I'm going to turn it down to like a medium here. because we're going to start with cooking the meat first. So what I did is I bought a pound of meat from the grocery store. This is stew meat. So it's a pound of stew meat, and what I always do with meat and cereals and things like that is I usually buy them at the grocery store. Even before I leave the grocery store, I get them out of their packaging and I'll put them into Tupperware or to Ziploc bags or storage containers for cereal, for instance. That way I get rid of all the excess paper and styrofoam and products and get them out, so I'm not having to carry all that trash with me in my van as I travel. So this is 1 pound of meat. I'm going to go and cook it all now and brown it, and then I'm going to separate it out, and I'm only going to use half of this today. This stew meal that I'm making will feed me for usually 3 days for half of this, and then I'll use the other half the next time, 2 or 3 days down the road, and then that will feed me for about another 3 days. So I'm just going to go and put all this in there. I lost some. Bummerooskies, get in there. And you know, one of the neat things about cooking in my van is I have a nice little sink over here where, you know, I can actually wash my dishes while I'm cooking. That way, you know, that way I can have things clean and put away as I'm in the whole cooking process, and I don't have a whole bunch of dishes stacked up here. Well, that's going to cook for a little while. I'll check back with you when that's about complete. Okay, well, I think the meat has cooked enough there. So what I'm going to do now, since that was a pound of meat, I'm only going to use a half a pound of that meat. I'm going to go ahead and scoop out some of the meat and put it in this bowl for now. I'll let it cool off, and then later on I'm going to take that meat and put it in a Tupperware container and store it in the fridge. But like I said, we don't need all this. And this has actually created some nice juice down in here. So we're going to get about half of it out. That's looking pretty close. That's probably about good. So next I'm going to start putting in some of the vegetables that I cut up earlier. It's just some onions and bell peppers, and there's jalapenos mixed in here as well. I'm going to start putting some of that in here. I'll probably put 2 good spoonfuls of my cut up onions in here. It's looking pretty good. I'm going to put 2.5 in. And now some bell peppers and jalapenos. I'll put 2 spoonfuls of this because I don't have as much of this. Okay, now I'll give that a little stir, mix it up. We'll start cooking these onions and bell peppers. Okay, so while the onions and bell peppers cook down a little bit, it's time to start cutting up the potatoes and carrots. Okay, so now I've turned you around, facing the other direction of my van. Now you're facing towards the front. I got my little curtain pulled because there's lots of sunlight coming in right there. So now I'm going to cut up the potatoes and carrots. This box here is a box my dad and I made. It's got a little, like a desktop here, and it's got a porta potty down there, but I use this as my secondary chopping area if I've already got the cooktop set up over there. So let me cut some potatoes and carrots up. These are, what are they? Just Idaho potatoes, and they come in, you know, they always come in different sizes. So I usually can fit about 3 of these inside the pressure cooker for this meal. So sometimes it'll take a 4th. It just really depends, but I think it's only going to be 3 this time. Let me bust this out real quick. Okay, so as far as carrots go, I just buy the pre-peeled small little baby carrots here. Oopsies. I'll probably put about 10 of them in. 10 to 12. Says that's 5, 10. I'll put 12 in. Okay, well I had to turn the heat off because this whole cooking while you're filming, it kind of takes some time moving cameras around and just making sure you got the right shots. So yeah, so the heat has been turned off. I kind of cleaned up my area and I've got the potatoes and carrots ready to go. But first what I'm going to do is I'm going to add about a cup of water. I'm going to add a lot more than that. I'm just kind of getting it started here. I would have done that a lot earlier, but with the whole filming thing. And I'm going to add one of the little Weiler's beef cubes for some, give it some flavor, to give it some beef flavor, kind of a broth. I'm going to drop that in there. Now normally you might like preheat this up in a pan and get it all, all melted down or cooked in, and then pour it in, but the pressure cooker is going to easily handle that. So, all right, that's in. Let me get the fire going again. We're just going to keep it on a low heat, kind of a simmering heat for now. I'm going to stir that in. So right now I'm using about probably a little less than a third of the pot. So now I'm gonna go and put in the carrots first because I might not use all those potatoes. I want these to be down in first. I think that's my next step. Let's get these carrots in there. All right, now let's start adding some potatoes. I filled my bowl a little too much. Now this is a 2-liter pressure cooker. It's got this, like I said before, it's got this rim here, which it'll keep things from spilling over, especially when you have the top on, the seal on. But I'm going to pack these potatoes down there as tight as I can get them in there, and I'm going to keep adding potatoes all the way up almost to this rim, just because I like to cook as much as I can in one cooking, so I can hopefully get 3 meals out of this. Because I mean, this is a lot of trouble for just 1 meal. Oh, I lost one. Okay, so I've got all the potatoes in there. I actually could have gone a little bit more, but no big deal. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill it up with some water, pretty much up to the level of the potatoes. Okay, so that's up to about the level of the potatoes, and now I'm going to give it a good stir, get everything mixed around. And the cool thing is it's got this lip on here, so hopefully things won't fly out while you're stirring it. Trying to get some of the stuff at the bottom up at the top and get these potatoes down to the bottom, and carrots. Okay, I think that's a pretty good stir. Okay, so now we're gonna put the lid on. It's already got the little weight deal on top. I forget what it's called, the weight thing. I've got my washers on there. You want to make sure that the washer is staying on. I actually bought a spare washer of mine in case this one wears out. I can replace it. With the handle right here, you want to turn it 90 degrees from the handle, and then you kind of tuck it inside, and you want to lift up on it and keep lifting up on it while you turn, and it's going to kind of fit into the groove. So now I've just got to punch this down. So now it's sealed, This is on top, sealed. So I'm going to kind of turn it off to the side there so you can see the flames. So right now we're at a low heat. So for potatoes and meat, you want to let it cook for 20 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the heat up to high, and it's going to create pressure inside there, and this thing is going to pop up and shoot out a bunch of steam, and that lets me know that it's under pressure, and that's when I turn it back down and I'll let it cook for 20 minutes. So let's get the cooking part underway, huh? Let's go to high heat. Now I'm going to cut back in when that thing is just about under pressure and about to spew up the steam. Okay, so now I'm going to get you a little bit closer for the action so you can see what happens when the pressure cooker goes off, or when it gets to pressure. Try not to be scared. It's a little freaky the first time. I'll let you look at the outside view while we're waiting. Okay, so that's what it does. That means it's under pressure, so now it's time to turn the heat down. Turn the heat down to a low. And you set the timer for 20 minutes and let it cook for 20 minutes. Okay, so it's doing its thing. It's going to sit here and cook for about 20 minutes. And this being my first cooking video, of course I'm going to make mistakes. Well, I kind of made a huge mistake. I completely forgot to put any seasoning in. Like, I usually season the meat as it's cooking, and once I put the potatoes in, I usually put some seasoning. Totally forgot it all. But anyways, I'll probably add that once it's done cooking, put it in and give it a good stir. Okay, so we're winding down the last few seconds here of our 20 minutes. I'm going to cancel that. So now we set the timer for 10 minutes. As I continue to watch basketball there. Go Cougs, Sweet 16, woohoo! Okay, so now it's gone for 20 minutes, so we turn the heat off all the way, and we're going to set the timer now for 10 minutes and to let the pressure cooker depressurize. Okay, well, the 10 minutes is up on the timer. I'm not hearing it hiss anymore, so that means the pressure has it's been depressurized. So you can either grab like a fork or something to lift that up, or I used to just get a towel, kind of lift it up a little bit to see if any steam comes out, and none's coming out. So now I just kind of pull it up all the way, drop that in the sink because that thing's gonna be kind of hot. So now you're basically gonna press down on the handle, which is gonna release this latch back here. Releases the latch, and this can sometimes be hot as well, so be careful of that. And then the lid's going to want to drop down in, so you want to start turning it back to the 90 degrees again. What's going on there? There we go. Turn it back to the 90 degrees so it can come out. Let that drip out a little bit. Okay, set that in the sink so you can see what it looks like a little bit. Now, like I said, I did forget to put seasoning in. So I'm going to put a little bit in now, but I may have to just season to taste as I make a bowl. But let me put a little pepper in. And like I said, I wish I would have done this when I was doing the meat and like right when I put the potatoes in. I'm going to put a little garlic powder in as well. And I guess a little bit of onion powder maybe. Tad of that. I already have onions in here, but let's put a little onion powder in. Okay. Now let's get that a little bit of a stir, see what it looks like. It looks pretty good. Looks pretty tasty. Okay, I'm going to scoop some up in my bowl here. That meat should be nice and tender. Okay, so like I said, I try to make this try to make sure it gives me 3 meals. So what I'll do is I usually have a bowl, about a bowl this size for dinner, and it's only 5 o'clock. I started this really early because I didn't know how long it's going to take to do, so I'm eating a little earlier than normal, but that's fine. So there we have it, and probably give it a little taste here first to see what we've got, see what I need to add. I'm just going to get like a carrot and a little piece of potato and some of the juice. I'm going to try it out. It's going to be warm. Yeah, it tastes pretty good. Of course, I like to kick it up a notch. So I think what I'll do, I'll put some crushed red pepper in there. A little bit of that. And I think I'll put some Cholula hot sauce in there too. This is the chili garlic version. I'll put a few drops of that in there. Well, that's going to kick it up a notch. Woo! All right, let's stir that up. And this actually isn't that big of a bowl of soup. I will probably get a second bowl. Yeah, this looks kind of small. I'll get a second bowl after I finish this first one. All right, let me give it the taste test with some meat in it. On my taste test. I want a potato, want some meat. There's some carrot. Yeah, a little bit of everything there. Show it to the camera there. Ooh, hot. Mm-hmm. The meat shredded very well as I chewed it there. The hot sauce gave it a good little kick. And that looks like it's going to be a good meal. So that's it. That's my beef stew with the pressure cooker. I hope you enjoyed this video today. And I'm going to eat this bowl and probably get a second bowl because it's early and I'm probably going to burn some more energy later on. So thanks again for watching, and don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And look forward to some new videos coming soon. Thanks a lot.